Well, here I am with Tufty, just re-evaluating what has gone on today in the reaction to the Gibraltar deal.
This government is showing that a pragmatic, positive relationship with the European Union pays off for the British public. Just as with the UK-EU summit last month, we are solving the problems left over from the last government and their thin Brexit deal.
Since Brexit, there's been a temporary arrangement which has involved light checks for residents of Spain and Gibraltar, but the EU is bringing in stricter checks at all of the frontiers of its free travel area, which of course threatened huge disruption at the Gibraltar border. So what's going to happen now is that Spanish border officials will be based at Gibraltar's airport and port, and they would check people arriving, and they could deny people entry. Lucy, this is tying up one of the loose ends of Brexit.
Well, actually, I think it's outstanding, actually, that the Labour government again has sold off something that belongs to the British people.
It hasn't changed the sovereignty of Gibraltar.
No, it's anti-British. It's just another thing and it's another episode in a series of anti-British moves by David Lammy. And I think that it's completely anti-democratic. You're not asking the people of Gibraltar what they want. I think it insults
Although the
Brexit
Chief Minister of
voters.
Gibraltar has agreed this.
It's anti-democratic. We haven't asked the people of Gibraltar how they feel about it.
The total number of ballot papers counted was 20,172. The number of votes cast in favour of remain a member of the European Union was 19,322. The number of votes cast in favour of leave the European Union was 823.
I think it insults Brexit voters, northern voters of this country, and I think it insults the people of Gibraltar. I think this deal is outrageous, and I think that this is something that has to be overturned.
Alex?
I mean, I find those comments outrageous. Of course, the democratically elected Chief Minister of Gibraltar is fully supportive of the deal. We're only here because nearly 10 years after Brexit was voted for, the Conservatives were unable to get a sensible deal over the line that was suitable for the people of Gibraltar. All this does is improve the border crossing point that was at risk of being closed, by the way, and would have cost hundreds of millions of pounds of British taxpayers' money had it been closed. All it does is improve checks there that are quite similar to what you get on the Eurostar. So if you're going from England to Paris, for example, or to Brussels, and you get the checks between the French and UK people together, that's all it's doing.
Lucy, it's similar
I think it's another sellout. It's another sellout by the Labour Party. What you want to do is realign us so closely with the EU.
This isn't the Battle of Trafalgar. Spain is an ally. This is what the people of Gibraltar want. I'm not saying it's the Battle of Trafalgar.
I'm saying that it's anti-democratic. And I'm saying that what you've done is that you're trying to realign as best you can with us to the EU, which is absolutely what the general public did not want. They voted against it, and you are doing the complete opposite and slowly tinkering away and giving away parts of our country, parts of the world that we live in. You are basically dismantling everything that people voted for back in 2000.
So the government respects the Brexit vote in 2016. What the British public want now is a sensible, practical relationship with the EU that is good for their prosperity, enables them to travel, and helps people out that live in places like Gibraltar that have been put in a really difficult situation by this vote. That's all we're doing. It's a sensible agreement.
The Labour Party gave away the Chagos Islands.
People of Gibraltar.
You're now doing this with Gibraltar. You are doing it consecutively. I don't think that the Labour Party is very pro-British.
I suggest you speak to the people of Gibraltar and ask them.
I suggest you do that.
Sakib, what do you think?
Look, fundamentally...
You would have had to have done this, wouldn't you?
Fundamentally, I don't trust David Lammy to do a good deal for Britain. When Labour walks into a room...
How would you have resolved? This was going to be an issue.
Let me say this on this. I'm going to wait to see the detail of this. But the reality is, on the back of the Chagos deal, which has given away £30 billion, which, by the way, the first tax cut delivered by Rachel Reeves, as Mel tried yesterday, is for the Mauritian people, you know, as they did in their budget last week.
Let's just stick to Gibraltar for now.
But it matters because it's about the quality of negotiation. And so I'm going to wait to see... Obviously, I didn't see the statement, so I'm going to wait to see the detail of this. But I'm very, very worried about every time David Lammy does a deal that we lose out. And, you know, look, if I'm speaking
But isn't this just making the border crossing there workable?
Well, look,
It's a
obviously,
sensible thing,
obviously
isn't
there was a temporary arrangement in place. But like I said, I'm going to go to see the detail on this. But the track record that David Lammy has, you know, if you're in a British overseas territory, I say watch out, David Lammy's about, and you know that's really the issue here.
This deal saves us hundreds of millions of pounds that otherwise would have been the cost of a hard border.
What about the 30 billion we've just given to Chagos for their and the Mauritians for their tax cuts?
Why did you start negotiating on Chagos in the first place? You started negotiating because you knew there was a threat to the most important base in the Indo-Pacific.
You closed the deal.
Okay, let each other speak.
You closed the deal at £30 billion, and they're now giving income tax cuts to their people, while Rachel Reeves is going to have to raise taxes for British people. I think there is no doubt, actually, that when Labour negotiates, Britain loses.
So you recognised and started the negotiations on Chagos, as you started the negotiations on Gibraltar, by the way, and you were unable to finish them. I was in the State Department a couple of weeks ago speaking to Washington. They're our most important security partner. They have been fully welcoming of our deal with Chagos because they know how important it is to all of our national security.
Yeah, I think it's really important in a time of where we're living in the era of hard power that we do actually have a success in Gibraltar. There are so many people who go across that border on a daily basis, either for leisure or for work, and this is going to make their life a lot easier. So I think, yeah, this is something that we should celebrate, especially as David Lammy, not my biggest fan because he hasn't done a lot on the situation in Gaza. However, there is this success that we can actually celebrate and actually see him doing something that's useful.
And after 5 years of rupturing from the European Union, now Gibraltar looks sorted along a deal which will see it in part similar to Northern Ireland in some form of Schengen, so that the border is sorted out and trade is sorted out. Because, of course, really, it's all very well this mythical sovereignty stuff. It is about freedom of movement and freedom of goods that really matter, not unicorn sovereignty, which doesn't exist, as Brexit has already proven.